So I had a couple people ask me how we do the bead roll tank and fenders, so I figured I'd do a start to finish here and show everybody how I do it, which is probably completely the wrong way. Basically what we got here is a cheap trailer fender blank that I pulled out of the scrap pile, and we're going to cut it up and make it into something that looks better for the front. A little bit of cutting later and we've got what is our front fender blank. Now as we're laying out the pattern, we want it to match the fender and the tank that we've already got there. This fender was formed completely from scratch. I don't have an English wheel, so basically it's done on the bead roller. We cut out the pieces and weld it together. No fancy tools short of the bead roller, but we want the pattern to carry right through to the front here, so we'll lay it out to match. We spent a little bit of time with Sharpie and a tape measure and figured out what we wanted. Now we got some Sharpie marks and we'll go over to the bead roller. So what we have here is my Baliegh Industrial bead roller. If it sounds like an ad, it's because Baliegh was awesome and I want to give away on Pirate 4x4 that I've been completely slacking on. And I kept meaning to post pictures or videos of stuff I've been doing with this thing. It's been earning its keep, but I want to give them a shout out for how much they seriously kick ass and allow me to do this stuff. So we'll show you how I do it. So I got the bead roller all set up and I got my alignment marks, and in this case I marked it a little bit too close to the outer radius of the fender, so they're going to be basically there for reference. I'm starting in the middle because trying to start on the end, especially on a fender, is a big pain in the ass. Basically, I want to tighten the tension a little bit and start working the piece through. I don't want to go right to full depth right away because it's going to be a real bear, but it's pretty easy to guide it through and come back to the end after, and we can tighten down the tension as we go. So I'll make a pass this way, and once we get through to the end, we're going to tighten it back down and get this groove in all the way. Pretty easy on this thinner stuff. It gets quite a bit more difficult when we get thicker. This is probably 20 gauge. This stuff I used for the tank and the rear fender was 14 gauge and not nearly as friendly to put through. Took two of us to run this thing because I still haven't bolted it down to the floor, but luckily it gave me a really nice finish like what I was after. So I'll keep working on this, and in a minute we'll show you how this comes together for the inner portion. So I don't know how well it shows up in the video, but now what we've got is a step panel. It's actually got some body line and some profile to it. We've got the outer perimeter rolled, and it still needs a little bit of cleanup, but we got the basic shape there, and now we're going to move on to the inner edge. Now, when I built this tank and fender that are already on the bike, there was lots of room inside of this panel to be able to fit the inner curve from the outer curve. You can see where my weld mark is there, so I had lots of meat for the die to step up. Unfortunately, because of how narrow we are here, I can't get the step die to sit on there, so what we're going to do is we're going to use this one, and we're not going to run the whole panel through it, just the one edge of the panel. And it'll give us kind of the same effect, but because it's so shallow on the outer edge, we're actually able to fit it a little bit better. So this is basically how we've got it set up. Not quite all the way across on the die. I already did the one half of the fender, so I wouldn't look like a complete jackass and say that this was going to work, and it wouldn't. But basically we're going to start rolling this thing. And I got somebody helping me so that I can videotape while I work. Basically running this right along the edge. Okay, go back the other way. I'll tighten that down a little bit. Definitely giving it a bit of a workout to get this curve in here, but it looks like it's going to give us the desired effect, and we'll probably work this thing back and forth 5 or 6 times. Other way. And 1 second, let me tighten this up. That way we can get a nice deep bevel on it, and it gives me the shape that I want without straining this bender past what it's good for. So here's the Fender as it's progressing. It's going to take a little bit of work to tweak it all into place. I got it tacked right now, and as you can see, I misgauged a little bit. It's a whole lot harder to work on this narrow piece, and I get a little bit of hammer and dolly work to fix this. Luckily I got a friend of mine that's really good at it, and we'll see if he can give me a hand straightening out some of my joints here. But basically that's it tacked together, so I'm going to weld it up and clean it down, and then I can show you the finished product. So anyways, after a little bit of grinding and welding, which I'll save you the gory details from, we got a fender that's almost ready to get mocked up on the bike. Gives us some really nice body lines, something a little bit better than a plain old Fender. And this is the bike it's going on. This is being built for the Greasy Dozen put on by Old Bike Barn. Some really skilled builders doing their stuff, and we're just trying to make sure that everything we can build here, we're trying to give it a little bit of flair and you know, basically make it look as cool as possible. Give a pretty badass chopper when we're done. And yeah, so thank you to Baliegh for the badass equipment, and thanks to Old Bike Barn and Bear You Rock, all the other sponsors and stuff. Can't wait to see you guys in August.